Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my Week 7 Top 25 review. I made a video, and I had it getting ready to upload and whatnot, and the whole video just decided to eliminate itself from existence. So I apologize this took so long. For whatever reason, it just decided to do that. But this was such a good week of football for in particular with me for one specific reason. But ultimately, for what I got to miss, what I got to watch later was really worth it. I mean, this was a W week of football, but without saying too much, let's get straight into this thing. A like and subscribe and up a comment always helps. Let's go. So starting off the week, we had Utah at ASU. Originally, I was anticipating that Cam Rising was going to be out for this game because I have always thought that Cam Rising was going to be healthy going back into the games, and he just has never returned. And I was still skeptical of how ASU would perform against Utah because Utah has a pretty good defense from what it looks like. So I said ASU would win because I don't know about this Wilson kid at quarterback. He seems to be pretty bad in the offense. Utah just doesn't look like a top 25 team with him. So I said ASU would have the edge in their biggest home game of the year by far. I said they would have the edge in this one, and Cam Rising ended up playing. And thank goodness I did not change my prediction because it didn't matter. In fact, we beat them by more than my prediction. This was the game. This is the game that could potentially put Cam Rising out of college football. They're currently trying to get him a medical red shirt so he can have another year of football, but he would be so damn old by that point. So I don't know what's going to happen there if he might just call it for his football career. But dude did not look good in this game. He was throwing short passes left and right really at the start of the game. As he got into it, yeah, he was missing passes and stuff, but it looked like he's getting a little better. But he was having two issues. He was having his hand and his ankle from what I know. He definitely got hit in that ASU game, like right off the bat. He got tackled and he like went back on his foot wrong. I feel so bad for Cam sometimes, like he can't just get away from the injuries. But he was definitely not ready to play in this game, and they were just force-feeding it at that point. And ASU took advantage, and Utah really had the jump at the start. They had a good drive to start the game, got into field goal range. And then on the first offensive possession of the game for ASU, Sam Levitt got hit, and the ball floated literally into the arm of a D lineman. Like, it floated perfectly into his arm, set Utah up. I was like, oh, shit, this is going to be bad. But ASU bounced back from that point on. Aside from the missed throws, though, by Cam Rising, he had 3 interceptions, which 2 of which were actually not bad throws. Like, they weren't just terrible throws right to the defense, although they were terrible throws right to the defense. Nothing because of his injuries, just bad throws that he made. He threw 2 interceptions to people that were just staring at him in the eyes. One of them was right in the red zone. Dude threw a dart right down the middle, and there was a spy right there just staring at him. And then the last one came at the end of the game. Somebody was just floating around the middle, staring right at Cam, jumped in front of the ball, and picked him off. The second interception, he got a blitz on him. The dude that tackled him had just got back from a targeting suspension that took him out of the previous game and the first half of that at the Utah game. The third play he came back, he got right in Cam's face and just hit him, and it caused the ball to go off to the left, and our cornerback picked it. So, honestly, I think our defense, even though Cam Rising wasn't playing his perfect ball, our defense definitely stepped up and played some really good football when they needed to, because it's not like his interceptions were just underthrown passes or just, like, terrible balls. They were actually, like, I mean, yes, they were terrible balls, but, like, you know, I'm not, like, they just weren't terrible throws. Like, a person with a limp-ass arm throwing a fucking, I don't know, a damn tennis ball at them or something. They were bullets, they were darts. If the defender wasn't there, it would have been right in the hands, but the defender was there. So, if you can understand what I'm trying to say. But the sad thing about this game was this was the game that is going to kick Sam Levitt out for 2 to 4 weeks. He got drilled on a failed play when we were like about to punch in our second touchdown. The play messed up. He had to try and play hero, and he almost got a first down, but he got absolutely laid out, and I think he like fractured a rib or something because he walked off, went into the locker room, but he came back out in the second half. But when he came back out in the second half, he was like playing really tight. You could tell he wasn't comfortable, and his passes were off. I mean, he made passes when he needed to. That Cam Scatterby, I will say Scatterby did make a great catch, but still, I'm sure Jeff Sims would not have thrown that pass. He played when he needed to, but now he's out for 2 to 4 weeks. So ASU peaks here. This is the peak of the season, 2 to 4 weeks later. Who knows when Sam's going to be back? It's going to be a big drop-off. Jeff Sims is now the starting quarterback for ASU, so do not get your hopes up hitting the road against a super pass-heavy Cincinnati team. Cam Scatterby is going to be the star of the offense, and if they're just going to load the lineup because Jeff Sims can't throw the ball, and it's not going to look good for ASU from this point on. It's really unfortunate, but that's kind of been the situation with ASU for quite some time now, is we just don't have a quarterback. When our quarterback gets injured, we are kind of just out of options. And Sam was doing so good too, man. He really turned this team around. He's showing so much potential right now, and then he just gets hurt, and it's so unfortunate. But still a huge win for ASU, and kind of a wake-up call for the Big 12 and Utah specifically. South Carolina at Alabama. So I was kind of packed this Saturday. That was a Friday night game. Saturday, I was expecting not to watch many football games. I was going to have to watch them after the fact, but this was one I was trying to tune into, mainly because I tuned in at the end of the game. I said Alabama would absolutely swashbuckle this team, considering it's a home game. They need a bounce back after the loss against Vanderbilt. And South Carolina kind of got humiliated by Ole Miss. Wow, nice sentence. Subtle foreshadowing. But South Carolina, man, they were down 14-0. I thought Alabama was going to take off, and Alabama just finds a way to beat themselves down, mainly Jalen Milroe making just bad mistakes. For some reason, Jalen Milroe, in the big game, he absolutely dials in. But in the fart game that you just got to get through, he makes the most amount of mistakes possible. His defense won him the game in this one with that clutch interception after the onside kick recovery. That was when I tuned in. I saw that onside kick, and I was just like, no fucking way this is going to happen to Alabama. Like, this is actually crazy. But I seriously don't think I've ever seen Alabama, like, below 15. I don't think I've ever seen it. But Alabama manages to escape. I still think they are the best team in the country. It's just they've got to make it to the big games. I do think their schedule gets pretty tough from this point on. So maybe they will dial in and start to look like their regular selves. Because for whatever reason, when they just play the unranked teams, yeah, they've got at Tennessee, then they host Missouri, at LSU, Mercer or whatever. At Oklahoma could be interesting now, and Auburn will be interesting. That Auburn-Alabama game is always close. But Alabama's just got to make it to the rest of the year as a one-loss team. They have a huge win against Georgia, so it's probably going to be Alabama versus Texas. Unless, like Texas A&M does something insane. Texas A&M they're technically 3-0 in conference play, so unless Texas A&M manages to go undefeated for the rest of the year and take down Texas, I'm not really sure what would be the tiebreaker there. But yeah, I don't know. The SEC is a very good conference, so that's all I can say. Clemson at FSU, totally nice. I literally forgot to change this 3 times. I forgot to change it in my prediction video last time. I forgot to change it the first time I made this review, and I forgot to change it this time. This is unbelievable. God, I'm shitting and pissing everywhere right now. It is number 10 Clemson at Wake Forest. I did not expect Wake Forest to be able to go do anything against this Clemson team, and I really am as time starts to move on. The way Clemson is dominating their conference, I know it's not really anything special, but they are undefeated past that first game against Georgia. Maybe they did make some serious changes. I said 52-16. It was 49-14. Not a bad prediction. But, maybe Clemson did make some really needed changes, but I could tell you this much. They host Virginia. They should be able to kill Virginia. I've been trying to have hope in Virginia, but they did just lose by 4 points to Louisville. That was the must-win game for Virginia, and they lost. So maybe they could cause a ruckus against Clemson. Not too sure. Hosting Louisville, I don't have much faith in them in that. At Virginia Tech, that's probably going to be a loss for Clemson. At Pitt, that one's going to be super interesting. And then you finish off against the Citadel and South Carolina. So Clemson's, they control their destiny, man. They don't get Miami, which is insanely lucky, but they could meet them in the ACC championship. Missouri at UMass. Congratulations, Missouri. You won. I'm really proud of you. Texas versus Oklahoma. Wow, I pretty much expected this to happen, except they dominated even more. I gave Oklahoma the benefit of the doubt that they do perform better in the Red River rivalry. Like, nobody expected them to beat Texas last year. But after all, that was Dylan Gabriel, who just proved again, subtle I literally can't say that. Foreshadowing. I'm not saying the fucking first word, bro. Not saying that shit anymore. Dylan Gabriel has proven to be very, very clutch in the big game, and people got to realize that. We've got a lot of quarterbacks right now that are actually, like, super, super clutch. Cam Ward is insanely clutch right now. Dylan Gabriel, clutch. Jalen Milroe, even though he doesn't clutch in the little games, he plays big-time football in the big games. He wasn't able to do it against Michigan, I'll say that. But after all, that was the team that didn't lose the game and won the national championship. And also his center kind of threw that game away. So I don't really put much blame on Jalen Milroe. He can only be so much of the team. But he also, Jalen Milroe semi. Now that I think about it, the Texas game last year, he didn't show up in that one. So I don't know. Jalen Milroe did perform very well in that Georgia game, but whatever. So basically Cam Ward and Dylan Gabriel. Oklahoma is Dylan Gabriel-less now, and Texas returns Quinn Ewers, and instantly we see what Texas is capable of. I still think number one might be a little much for Texas right now, considering both of their big wins are against Michigan and against Oklahoma. And Michigan is barely hanging on to the top 25 right now, and Oklahoma was barely even hanging on to their record. Like, they might be lucky. Oklahoma might be lucky if they even go 500. Like, they're already a 2-loss team. I see like 3 or 4 guaranteed losses from this point on. They could seriously be 6-6 before bowl season. Even though they have such a good defense, they could go 6-6. That's just the difficulty of schedule they got. But also, they could barely beat Auburn, and it took a miracle there. They barely beat Houston in their home stadium. Houston has been shut out twice by Big 12 teams. I don't really think Oklahoma's that good of a football team. Texas, on the other hand, they're just putting away the competition, if you even count it as competition. I'm still skeptical. They do get to host Georgia, and Georgia kind of got unlucky with the home games. I think last year they had all the home games in their favor, but they got unlucky. They had to go on the road to Alabama. Now they're going on the road to Texas. But I do think Georgia will stir a ruckus there. I think they will cause some chaos. So we'll see what happens in that game. That's the game to wait for this weekend. Penn State at USC. Dude, give me some damn credit for this call. If you watched my prediction video, I said USC would get up pretty big. Like, I think I said 24-7 was what I said. And then Penn State would come climbing all the way back in, and then USC would try to make some phony-ass comeback. That was the only part that was wrong, was Penn State would go way ahead, and USC would make a phony comeback. Instead of that, it just leveled out and went into overtime. But, dude, USC was up like 20-6 in this game. They were up big time. And they just, in the second half, they let Penn State right back into the game, took it into overtime, and their kicker missed, which pretty much just gave Penn State the win. But to be honest, I think Penn State probably would have scored a touchdown anyways, judging off of, their offense in the fourth quarter put up 24 points, or in the second half put up 24 points. They probably could have scored a touchdown in overtime there. But USC sold. USC is probably the best 3-3 team in the country. They will be a lot better next year, but still the rest of the schedule is pretty interesting for USC. I want to see what happens against Notre Dame. I want to see what happens to USC on the road at Washington. Very, very interesting rest of the schedule for USC. Stanford at Notre Dame. I was skeptical of taking Notre Dame big in their home stadium because of what happened to NIU, and Stanford proved to be able to go on the road and take down a team like Syracuse, which nobody thought would happen. I mean, Syracuse is only a one-loss team with that Stanford loss, I think. Syracuse, if they didn't lose that game, they would be 6-0 playing Pitt right now with a road-ranked win against UNLV and a ranked win against Georgia Tech. I think, Stanford showed a little bit of strength on the road. They could do it. So I didn't say they would win, but I said they could make it interesting. But again, Notre Dame, once again, just shoves it down my throat, and just embarrasses my prediction. 49-7 was the final score. So to open the year, I said Texas A&M would win in their home stadium. Notre Dame won by 10 points. Second game of the year, I said Notre Dame would or I don't even know if I predicted the NIU game, to be honest. I might have. If I did, I said ND would thrash them, and they lost. Then I turned around and I said that Purdue would beat them in their home stadium, which we'll also get to that team later and why they actually could have beat them in that game. But I said Purdue would beat Notre Dame in a big win, and they lost 66-7. And then I think this is the next prediction. I can't put a fucking thumb on Notre Dame for some reason. I don't know what they're about. I don't know. They are all over the place, man. A one-loss team with a loss to NIU, but a huge road win against Texas A&M, a semi-good win against Louisville. I don't know if I predicted the Louisville game. I think I might have been gone for that, and I definitely didn't predict their Miami-Ohio game. But I can't put a fucking thumb on Notre Dame right now, so yeah, I'm not too sure. Cal at Pitt, I called for a good game. Pitt has had a lot of fun games this year as well as Cal, and they both disappointed me. I said Pitt would win by 10 in their usual scoring game. Instead, Cal missed a field goal and failed to make a comeback again. Cal is seriously I think it was they're 8 combined points away from being undefeated. They lost by 5 to Florida State, they lost by 1 to Miami, and they lost by 2 to Pitt. A couple things could have gone their way, dude, and they could seriously be 6-0 right now, and in the top 10. Seriously. I just imagine in a world where Cal would be in the top 10. That would be ridiculous. Purdue at Illinois, this game. So Purdue, mark my words. Mark my words. Foreshadowing. I'll try to have my video out tomorrow during the day. I'm just going to say I'm picking Purdue to beat Oregon. Oregon, coming off of a huge win against Ohio State. They weren't able to get over the hump last year against Washington. They are over the hump of Ohio State, and they are in control of the conference right now. They are the team to make it over Ohio State. Not many people were taking Oregon in that game, at least from what I saw, and Oregon won. Oregon has to play at Purdue 5 p.m. on a Friday night, and Purdue just absolutely turned their season around with a singular move at quarterback. Illinois, if anything, has a good defense this year, and I said they were going to shut this team to very little points, and they won because Purdue failed a 2-point conversion. And I'm telling you, bro, if you guys probably thought I was crazy when I picked Purdue over Notre Dame. It's because Purdue whips out a game like this, dude. They just whip it out. This is what they do. They whip these random-ass, insane performances out of their ass. And the reason why is because they pulled their quarterback. I don't know if they pulled him or if he got hurt or if he got benched at the start. I don't know, but a new quarterback played in this game. Now, I will say Purdue Illinois was up big in this game, 27-3, but I almost wonder if, let's see, did the first quarterback play? No, they just had a bad start to the game. Of course, I can't look at the play-by-play to tell what happened, but seriously, dude, it was once they exited halftime, Purdue dialed in They absolutely turned on the afterburners, brought the game all the way back in, and Illinois barely escaped because Purdue tried to go for a 2-point conversion. I mean, you're not really supposed to be competing against a ranked Illinois team like this. You're really not supposed to be competing against it. So when you're in overtime with them in a fucking shootout like this, I don't blame you for going. But the quarterback change was huge. He was 18 for 26 over the air, 297 yards, 3 touchdowns, but he also carried 17 times for 118 yards. He had like a total yardage of like 400 or more and 3 touchdowns. He played out of his mind, and that was his first time like starting a game this year. The rest has been this H-Card guy. And Purdue has marked a huge turnaround. I don't know if Oregon's going to be expecting it. I'm picking Purdue against Oregon. Arizona at BYU. I don't know why I saw anybody picking BYU or Arizona in this game. Absolutely picked BYU in this game. I gave Arizona like a little bit, maybe at the start, maybe at the very end. And it was even worse than I thought. Arizona did score more points, but something that I'm noticing in every single BYU game is that, or at least in every single BYU home game, is that the opposing team turns the ball over a lot. And is it BYU getting lucky? No. I think it's their defense. Their defense is absolutely pressuring the crap out of these players, dude. And they are legit over there. I think BYU is actually like one of the best teams in the country right now. Florida at Tennessee. I got to kind of start speed running. I'm running out of time here. Florida at Tennessee. I didn't watch this one. Tennessee starting to lose my interest. You can't go into overtime in your home stadium. I know it's a rivalry, but Florida got absolutely walloped by Miami, so that does not look good for you, Tennessee. That doesn't look good at all, especially going into a home game against Alabama. Oregon, Ohio State at Oregon. I had a pretty good prediction in this one personally. I said 33-30 Oregon wins. It was 32-31. And Oregon even missed a field goal, but Oregon also had to have Will Howard absolutely sell the game away. And they also had an insane kick into the Ohio State player to give them the ball. So Oregon did whip out a little tricks and whatnot, but also, it was to make up for their flaws. Oregon wins a big one. I'm sure these teams will re-meet at the end of the year, though. Ole Miss at LSU. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I'll say it. I was an LSU hater. I was so confident in my hate for LSU, considering their only loss was to USC, who has kind of fallen off. And Ole Miss was destroying teams, and I think pretty highly of Kentucky right now. So, but Ole Miss, man, they just didn't do it. They couldn't go on the road and beat LSU. And LSU is now, they're in contention. They've got my attention. I'm absolutely lyrical miracle over here. Now, Ole Miss did have 40 more yards of offense. Ole Miss kind of just beat themselves down with the penalty yards. 110 penalty yards to LSU's 45. Not going to lie, that's probably just LSU's home stadium. Absolutely rocking back and forth. But let's see, was there any missed field goals? Yeah, there was one Ole Miss missed field goal, but there was also an LSU missed field goal. So pretty even game. LSU just went on top and takes down Ole Miss after last year they lost. Iowa State, West Virginia. Iowa State's got my respect now. West Virginia was on a hot streak, and they returned home for another big game. I don't really think the home field was too much, but I did think West Virginia's team was getting pretty hot. So I took West Virginia, and Iowa State hasn't really played anybody other than Iowa, which Iowa got killed by Ohio State, so didn't really impress me whatsoever, actually. And, West Virginia was making it interesting at the start, but Iowa State just locked in the second half. In the second half. It was 14-10 going into halftime, which was pretty much almost the Penn State game. And then the second half, Iowa State's defense just took off, just absolutely shut them down. And Iowa State's legit, dude. They are for realsies. Kansas State at Colorado. Dude, I was really close. If Colorado could have made a stop on Kansas State, it would have been nice. I would have had a perfect prediction. But instead, Kansas State ends up on top. Colorado, I don't really know. Kansas State, I just think the gap right now in the Big 12 between Iowa State and BYU, and I even think Texas Tech is up there, but kind of maybe the gap starts right there. It should go Iowa State, BYU, then Texas Tech, and technically ASU, even though the drop off is coming soon. We are going to start taking some losses. Cincinnati's definitely up there. They have a really good passing offense. And then the drop off is just pretty drastic. I mean, I'm not really sure Kansas State will last in the top 25. And then the final game, Boise State at Hawaii. I said they would kill him. They sort of killed him in a lower scoring fashion, but the Ashton running back went crazy. Sorry I had to speed that up. I ran out of time here. I'll try to get this video out by like midnight tonight. So with that being said, a like and subscribe it would help. A comment always helps. That's all from me. Adios.